Hi, I'm the Tipsy Gypsy, and this is my unbiological
twin sister from a different mother.
The other Tipsy Gypsy. This is Linda Lou from Linda Lou's Funky Finds. I am Babushka, and I have...
Really? Babushka?
Well, yes, that's another... We'll talk about it another time, how the name Babushka came about. I'm going to put links afterwards on the bottom, so all of you, Linda and I both have vintage clothing stores online, and I'm going to put links to those underneath. Hers will be Linda Lou's Funky Finds, and we're going to have several for me. I have several different places that I sell. But in the meantime, this is kind of our intro video. Linda Lou and I are going to talk about everything vintage. This is going to be the beginning of a new series. Since we both have vintage clothing and hats and accessories, and
it's become a passion. I mean, I'm vintage. She's
vintage.
Working on it, not quite yet, but I've got experiences being vintage, even antique in a lot of areas.
We both, yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about age here. What we're going to talk about is the collection we've amassed.
Yes.
Individually. I started my vintage clothing passion. I lived in San Diego I started my passion for all things vintage back in the early to mid 1990s in San Diego. And I moved across country to Albuquerque and decided it was a great idea to start my own vintage clothing business. And I was a little ahead of my time here where I live now, which is
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque. It was not thought of as vintage; they were costumes, and so I had my antiques and collectibles and vintage clothing and stuff too. And people would come in and say, "Oh, you're a costume shop." This was before vintage was. It had taken off everywhere here but New Mexico. We're always like the last.
And still are.
And still are
in many ways.
Yes.
Yeah, fashion-wise, maybe.
Nothing here is where it is in most other fashionable places in the United States.
Which makes it great for picking and finding those vintage things.
Right, which is how we amassed our collection.
Yes.
And because it was eventually discovered. Yeah.
Huge.
It was eventually discovered, but it's hard to find now. Now you go out and you can't find it. But so we have everything.
We do.
We are the ones who were at Savers and every thrift store and every estate sale there ever was. We are the ones who bought everything.
Yes.
Yeah. And we bought everything, and now it has taken its own life form in our homes.
Yep, taken over.
So we, little by little, sell on Etsy, eBay. We have had a garage sale. We had it in...
That's a whole nother video.
In August or September. That was like the garage sale from heck.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to be family friendly here.
Yeah,
there are other words we would much prefer
use
using.
gross.
Yes.
Anyway.
We had this garage sale here because we have tried everything because vintage kind of waxes and wanes, and so we're trying to find a way to make it during the waning part, trying to keep afoot, trying to pay the bills.
And also trying to let people know how to wear vintage, what to look for.
Right.
I mean, it's such a scary thing when you first start trying to wear vintage. You think there's all these rules and regulations. Well, there's really not.
And you don't have to just wear vintage. You could, so these are vintage. I have 3 vintage necklaces here. And this isn't vintage. This isn't vintage. People think if you have a vintage hat on that you must have a vintage blouse and a vintage whatever, and not true. It's not true. You can wear a vintage hat with your favorite cowboy boots and your favorite tight jeans, whatever you want. There are no rules.
There are no rules. Just what makes you feel comfortable. This is for people that don't like to shop at the big stores or think that...
or you don't want to look like everybody else. You want your own style.
Exactly.
So that's part of the series. What we're going to do is show you how to wear vintage. We're going to show you some of our vintage, and everything, pretty much everything we're going to show you is for sale. May not be on one of our sites, but if you see something you like, she's going to be showing you a lot of really fun hats.
I've got ADD, so I'm putting hats on left and right.
So we're going to kind of go through one wardrobe item at a time. Like, we're going to do hats, one series. And believe me, it won't just be one series of hats because it would go on for a month.
It would.
So we're going to show you how to incorporate vintage into your wardrobe, and we're going to show you how you can buy vintage from us and anywhere else.
Or just get an idea of what you should have.
Right. Well, I want to go back to the garage sale we had. It wasn't just a vintage clothing garage sale, but we wanted to try something new. Instead of, we've tried everything. Linda and I have sold in flea markets. We have sold online, having people come to our homes.
Shop in Santa Fe.
Everywhere.
Yes.
And like I said, things wax and wane, and things change, and people change, and situations change. So we decided to have a garage sale. And we advertised big time for it. And poor Linda, we made her husband move out of the garage. He was no longer allowed
The man cave was not there anymore.
It was gone. We had to move everything to every side.
Territorial.
Right.
Yeah.
So we turned it into, looked like a vintage clothing shop. We had, if you can see this antique dresser behind us, she had a beautiful, well, not here. She had another, a desk here. And then over here, which you can't see right now, she had the most beautiful armoire. And so anyway, we put, oh, I love that. Leave that one on. That's gorgeous. I love that one.
I know, me too. This is really old. This is from the 30s.
It is, and it's gorgeous. I love that. So we set it up like a shop. You walked in and you felt like you were shopping in a regular shop. But they wanted garage sale prices. And we thought we were giving, like, for really cool, nice dresses, we were charging $7 to $10 for vintage. If they were just regular dresses, we were charging $3, $4, maybe $5. And we're talking, Linda and I have collected boutique style stuff. It's not just all, I mean, nothing, it was all high quality stuff. It's not just vintage. We had boutique, but we definitely did not charge for the boutique things the same we were charging for dresses. But I think our most expensive dress was $10.
Yeah, and that retail should have been a couple hundred. I mean, we got so down and dirty with this. It was crazy.
Well, we had people show up, and we advertised to antique dealers because we wanted them, we were selling, we thought it was wholesale. So they came and in droves. And I think we, by the, how many days did we have it? 3 days? Or
3 days.
3 days. By the third day,
3 long days.
We both crawled in our hole. After we cleaned up the mess and put out the fires, we crawled in our hole. We didn't talk for like, what, a week? We were recuperating. We weren't mad.
Yeah.
We had to recuperate.
Yeah.
So we did.
Very stressful.
We swore never to do it again. We had people who would come in, and frankly, I think it's rude. When you're a vintage dealer and you know what your prices are supposed to be, and you know $5 for this really beautiful gown is cheap, and you know, I mean, it's way too cheap. $10 is all we were asking. So some of these people would get piles of clothing together, and you're talking even at our $10 for a dress and $5 for a blouse, this pile that would, even at our low prices, would have cost $400 or $500, and they would offer us $50.
Did we take it? By the end of the third day, we were giving it away.
We were,
So sad.
Yeah, and we were pissed.
Yeah.
And so we vowed to never do it again, and we haven't. And we haven't.
Ever. I'm still traumatized.
Right, it was, you know what? We felt like we had had a seizure, a 3-day long seizure.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know what it's like to have a seizure, especially a 3-day long one. But if that's what a seizure feels like, I mean, if that is how you feel after a seizure, we felt like we'd had a 3-day long seizure. So
totaled. And Albuquerque, New Mexico is a fabulous place to live. It just, the quality of people that want vintage are very limited. You know, the UNM, our college, if you get a place down there that you have to sell to the college students, which is fabulous.
And they wear it. The college students really, they do. And great. We have a big, UNM is a big, you know, you've heard of UNM.
There. Yeah. But I have been selling this, so it's Kelly, to like all over the world. South Africa, France, England, Australia.
You ship wherever it is they buy from. You ship it there tonight.
And the thing that I like the most is it's not about the price, actually. Cross my heart. It's about people that really love this stuff, which is why you really do vintage. It's
Right.
because of the way that it's made, the uniqueness. I mean, you get an item, a dress that's 60 years old, and it looks like it was made yesterday. You
Right,
get
yeah.
a dress today that was made yesterday, and it looks like it's falling apart today. And vintage is about quality. It's about style. It's about art. It's an art form. I totally
I
believe
agree.
that.
It is an art form. Have you ever had put on like a vintage dress or something vintage and kind of felt, I don't know, it's like touching a piece of vintage furniture and you wonder, wow, who touched this?
Yeah.
Who did this belong to? Some of Linda's stuff that she had out there was like from the 1800s. The armoire was probably 1800s, early 1900s, and
Yeah.
you think that was during the time of the Titanic. Who touched it? Who owned this? Who stood in front of this beautiful mirror here and tried on this dress? Because her armoire had a mirror when you opened it. So vintage is like that.
It is. It's that, and there's a quality of people that really appreciate vintage, as with every other quality of style, whether it be the minimalist, whether it be just people that love beautiful things. I collect it because it's beautiful. It's a piece of art that you will never get, that you will never find again. Right. These dresses, a lot of them in the 50s were made handmade because of the fact that was the way it was carried on from mother to mother.
Right.
And you would sew. You were a seamstress from the day you grew up. And it showed. It showed in the quality of things. So when I put something online that doesn't have a label, it's handmade, that is the most precious to me because you'll never find another item like that. The whole thing about vintage, though, is you have to know your measurement because you can't say it's a size 12.
Oh, yeah, the sizes are so different.
Yeah.
If they have sizes.
Yeah.
A size 12
absolutely.
Nowadays is like a size 2.
Yeah.
They didn't eat as well as we do. So people are generally bigger now. Well, better nourished, I should say. I have a story to tell you.
Oh, do tell.
Speaking of vintage, or not speaking of vintage so much, when I was growing up, my mother used to like to sew all of my things, and I hated the fact that she sewed my things because I wanted the new stuff,
the store stuff,
the stuff that all the kids are buying, that everybody else is wearing. So my mom makes me this beautiful, we called them knickers back then, but it was a one-piece.
Oh, God, you weren't born in the 1800s.
But that's what we called them. We call them knickers. And they call them capris now. But this was a one-piece. It was like overalls, but it was a one-piece, and it went down to your shins, like capri length. And so my mother, my sweet mom, spent hours and days, and my mom worked full-time as a nurse, and I was the youngest of 7, so she was busy. And she found time out of her busy schedule to make this for me. And I remember putting it on, and I just screamed and said, this looks like pajamas. I'm not going to wear this to school. And my poor mom, if you think all-time total, 80 hours she probably put into making this, and not once did I wear it. It probably went to one it was donated. My poor mom. I wished I'd kept it, but it did look like pajamas. And I should have just said, Mom, looks like pajamas, and I love it. Can I wear it to bed? I didn't do that. I was probably 10, and threw a fit. And so to this day, I remember that, and I don't think my mom ever made anything for me again. My poor mom.
I know, and I get that. I wish I knew. I took sewing in school and stuff, and I just
home ec.
They
don't have that anymore.
And they don't have that, and it's craziness because I think now that's what things are getting. Schools should get back to is teaching kids the basics of life. Anyhow,
yeah.
My mother, the only thing she said that really carried me through was she said, if you have some good things, don't ever throw them away or give them away because they'll come back in style.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Who's going to wear these bell-bottom pants?
Yeah. Really.
Who's going to wear these? Who wants to look like a hippie?
Yeah, really. Well, that's been carried through forever.
Right.
And
So, Linda.
Yes.
Tell us about this hat.
This hat is Kangaroo, from Kangaroo. It's probably from the 80s or so.
Is it real Kangaroo, or is it just a brand?
That's a brand. Okay. And I like it because it just sits on your head no matter what. And it's kind of, if it's cold, it gives your top of the head a little warmth and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
What would that style be called? I used to...
Beret, maybe?
Beret, that's what I was looking for. Beret, yeah. Okay, so we need to back up a little bit here. I want to tell them how we met.
Okay, do.
Starts out first, though, before we met, I had an ad on Craigslist. My husband and I just bought a house. I guess I need to go back even further. Let's go further back.
Okay.
Okay, so I closed my shop because it was not successful. People wanted to rent my costumes. They didn't want to buy my vintage. They didn't know what it was. So I closed my store, and I put everything in boxes, and I stored it in my garage for years and years and years. And then I met my current husband, and I started selling it in malls, antique malls and flea markets. And people would go in there and just trash it, and you would find stains on stuff and rip things. And so I took all of my clothing, the vintage clothing, out and started selling just my collectibles. So I didn't have another outlet again for my vintage clothes. And there was Buffalo Exchange, but they were very fussy about what they bought and didn't pay very much. So it went all in boxes, and then my husband and I bought this farm out in the mountains east of Albuquerque. And I actually opened up, we bought an old 40-foot school bus. And from these two young girls that were traveling through Albuquerque, and they drove it from Alaska. Well, we bought the school bus from them, and we transformed it into a store. It actually looked like a store.
I'd love to have that
clothing
now.
racks.
What the heck did you do with it, girl?
Well, we ended up moving from Edgewood. We had a child, and the schools out in the East Mountains where we were living were nothing to speak of. So I had my clothing store out there for several years, but it was really by appointment only because we were like in the middle of nowhere. People couldn't just drive out there and come to my vintage clothing store, to my vintage clothing bus. So back to storage, everything went, and we moved to Albuquerque and had everything in storage until we bought another home in Albuquerque. And so now my vintage clothing, because I didn't stop collecting when I was out there. I had another 40-foot semi-trailer out there that every time I collected, it went in there. So I continued to collect. And so we moved to Albuquerque, and all of this had to go in a 2-car garage. So you can imagine a 40-foot school bus, 40-foot semi-trailer, all boxed up now and going into a 2-car garage. So it is in my 2-car garage, not after getting rid of, I literally got rid of, I think, about a third.
Mm-hmm.
A third of what I had, just so it would fit. So now it's floor to ceiling, back to front in my garage, and there's one path from the garage door to the entry into the house, and that's all there is.
And we're going to do videos on going through the stuff that she has in the boxes, because it's like Christmas. You never know what it is.
Well, some of that stuff has been in there for so long, I don't even know what's in there.
I know, it'd be great.
I have labels on there that say vintage dresses or vintage Hawaiian dresses, but you know, some of those might be from the early 90s when I closed my first store. I don't know. So yeah, it is like Christmas. You don't know what you're going through.
I love it.
I put an ad on Craigslist.
Okay, back to
I wanted more vintage clothing dealers. I wanted to just get rid of it. I had gone back to school. I got my degree as a graphic designer. And I'm a fine artist, but my degree was in graphic art. So I put an ad on Craigslist looking for somebody to buy. I was hoping to get dealers to come in and buy, you know, not 3 or 4 things, but boxes and boxes full at a time. So I had several people answer my ad, and I did have one person show up one day. Okay, I have to be nice. I'm not going to say if it was a he or a she, but this person has a shop on Etsy, right? So this person wanted to buy things that they could sell on Etsy. And I was back to the same old thing, the $5 for a shirt, unless it was like an average shirt, then it would be $2 or $3. But for a really nice, like a vintage bowling shirt or something that was beautifully embroidered or beaded, $5 for a shirt, $10 for a dress. For 2 pieces, I was asking $15. And this isn't for junk. I mean, these are for really quality pieces that when I list them on Etsy, let's just say the $15 2-piece thing, I could ask $85, $90, sometimes more if it was a brand name, you know. So I put that in my Craigslist ad. I said, my prices are not negotiable. I want to make a living too. I'm not trying to give it away, and I'm not desperate. So the prices aren't negotiable. Here's what the prices are. If you're serious and you're okay with this, and we're not going to haggle, then we can work something out. So this person comes all the way from back east, and is on their way to a trade show somewhere in California, where this person was selling their vintage there. So they're always, when you got vintage in your blood, you're always looking for vintage, even if you already have too much.
Right.
So anyway,
it's an addiction.
It is an addiction.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out if this person was serious first. So I went in my garage, but the night before, and I brought out about 10 or 15, maybe 20 boxes, and I lined them up my hallway. And that was all I was going to do, because I wasn't going to put all of my energy into something if this person wasn't for real. So anyway, this person does show up when they say they're going to. And they go through my things, and they pick out only the best of the best. And so I'm adding them up. I have my piece of paper here, and I'm writing down. And when this person showed up, I said, now, right, we're still in agreement. We're not negotiating. These are my prices. Excuse me. If something falls in that category where you think you want to negotiate, don't put it in the pile that you're going to keep.
Yeah.
So this person has piles and piles. Okay, the equivalent, I would say, of about 6 big black garbage bags, lawn leaf bags. And I had already added everything up on this sheet of paper, and one vest, one coat. I had coats in there too. I had real fur coats, but I didn't kill the animal.
Okay.
I don't agree with them.
Get rid of the anger, but what did he offer you, dear?
So I totaled it all up with a calculator, and I handed it to him, and I said, you can go, do this just to be sure my numbers are correct. And so this person added the numbers up, and this person said, and then we were at like $4,000. I don't know, somewhere it was in the thousands. And this person said, well, all I have with me is $600. And I said, well, then you better start pulling things out. Start pulling things out of there till you get down to the 600 mark. If you'll give me this for $600, on my way back from the trade show, I'll stop again, and I'll have more money, and I'll buy more from you. This person was very persuasive, and so I did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's fast money right there. I would have done the same thing, hands down.
So anyway, so this person did come through again on their way back.
And he showed up. I mean, he actually contacted you.
Yes. But the same thing happened again, but this person lowballed me again. And by this time I was angry because, the prices were already low enough.
Yeah.
So I pulled things out that I felt like I had given him way too good of a deal. And I pulled these things out, and I said, okay, so here we are. I'll do this for the price you gave me. And he huffed, and she puffed, and
blew the house down.
And accepted it. And so that was that. But during the time, this person said, well, this $10 dress here, I don't even get that much in my shop. And I thought, that's a bunch of crap. Because we all sell on Etsy. I sell on Etsy. This person had an Etsy shop. And I had already looked at this person's Etsy shop because they told me what it was before they were coming. So I could see what they were asking for the clothes. Yeah. And I've looked again since, and this $10 dress, he said that's all he or she sells it for, actually was, some of them were over $100. So that put a really bad taste in my mouth. But no sooner was I pulling my ad off of Craigslist as I get this email from Linda Lou. And I thought, okay. She was really nice. And she said, I get it. I understand. I've had people do that to me too. And she said, I'll be fair. So we had to cancel a couple times, but before she ever showed up, we were texting back and forth like old friends. And it was like before she ever showed up, I knew her, and we joked like we'd known each other our whole lives. And we went through boxes and boxes, and she picked out some really, really cool stuff. and I gave her a price, and she was okay with it. And I don't think we did that again, but we just struck up a friendship and found out we had so many things in common. It was really like we were twins.
Absolutely.
Is what it feels like.
You know, and you don't meet very many people in a lifetime like that,
No.
which is incredible, because I can say anything I want to say to my twin sister here from different mothers, but it doesn't make her mad or irritate her. It just
We laugh about it.
Yeah.
And we say, right, you too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've decided to make this series of videos about vintage and how we got into it and what we're going to do, and how you can really dress and be and live this world that doesn't, I mean, I used to think there were so many rules and regulations. Oh my God, if I wear this and that, this and that.
And I hear that from people. I hear that a lot.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And
they say, I can't wear vintage because I just don't, I don't know how. No, the most common thing I have is, well, I don't have enough vintage to wear all vintage. And like we talked about before, you can just wear one piece.
You can. And it's an investment. Some of the things that we sell will go up in price. I mean, hands down.
Yeah.
And some are just, well, you can wear forever because they just don't wear out. I mean, 60 years old, it looks like it was just made yesterday. You can't say that about anything that was made today, because it's made to be worn for a half a season, which is now, what, 2 weeks?
Or you wash it 2 times and then it's ready for the garbage.
It's crazy. And everybody looks like everybody else. So this is for a particular group of people that really see things in a different light. And I think so many people do. They just don't know where to go to find it.
Right.
And we'll have the links at the bottom, and questions asked. I'm always available, so is Kelly, about helping people dress. Know your sizes.
Babushka.
Babushka. Her middle name is Kelly. Babushka Kelly. Yeah, I forget. You know, my mind.
Do you know what? My father used to call me his little babushka. My father is Yugoslavian.
My dad called me much worse than that, dear.
Well, it was a term of endearment. It really was.
Yeah.
Although he thought that I was, like saying my little doll or my little, well, Yugoslavian is they speak basically Russian. It's a particular dialect, but really it's all Russian. And I looked up babushka, and so my dad was calling me his little handkerchief. My whole life, his term of endearment for me was my little handkerchief.
I love it.
That's one dialect. So another Russian dialect, it means old lady.
Well, I prefer the handkerchief.
Right. Yeah. So he was either calling me his little handkerchief or his old lady. So, and that's how babushka came.
My first ex-husband called me his little mud pie. Yeah, mud pie is a cow pile in the middle of a field. Hence, he's my ex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But anyway, that's where we're going with this, and it's about fun. If you don't have fun in life, if you don't have fun doing what you're doing, stop it now, because it doesn't get any better.
Right.
Your life is, a certain amount of time, and go for it, girls. Boys.
So we're gonna pull out
stuff. Lots of stuff.
Vintage jewelry, hats, gloves, scarves.
Yes.
Oh, we're both big on scarves.
Yes. It hides that little neck creepy, chicken stuff right here. I love it.
Yeah. Well, we have it all.
We have it all.
And we're also going to be, I'm going to be putting some color in my hair. And so I think one of these times, I watched a video, a YouTube video, of course, that had eyeshadow. And she just got that eyeshadow and went like this on her hair. Instead of, they call it hair chalk. Is that what I said? Color chalk?
What?
Something chalk.
Yeah.
But it was the same, and it made this beautiful. So we're going to try that one of these times.
Yeah, we're going to get into everything.
We're going to live dangerously.
And be weirdness, which is what we are. But, it's a fun weirdness. It's a great. And comments, I'd love to hear what you want to speak about. Bring it on, because if we don't know, we'll make it up, okay?
Right. Okay, we have to go. I need to go pick my son up from school. Thank you for joining us.
Mwah!
Check the links below. Visit our shops. Right now we're both running a little bit low because we've been trying to take care of all kinds of stuff and don't ever seem to get around. Yeah, but we are going to be adding things to our store.
Yeah.
But anytime you see something you like, even if you like some of these hats, put a comment in there. If you can't find it in either one of our stores, she's got it for sale. Let us know.
Yeah, do.
All right. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.